this and let's go. I'm just going to go live right now. I know it takes people a couple of minutes to notice that we are live, so we can just chat for a second while I pull up my screen.
Fantastic.
So how's your Monday going? Second while I pull up.
Awesome. I have a guest coming from Arizona, so I had to move out of my office so that she could have a place to sleep.
Oh, that's fun. I mean, for Christmas?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
I'm so excited to have someone here from Arizona.
Yeah. Well, it's always nice when, if you don't have family near you, it's nice to have people come visit, once in a while.
Yes, we've made lots of friends here, which is really easy for Tony and I to do because apparently we're not the only ones who are friendly people, especially in the South. And they have become very hospitable to us. So lots of friends here.
Yeah. I think, when you live in an area where people are from all over the place, they tend to be a little more welcoming with newer people. But
yes, and just like Arizona, everyone from the north is moving to South Carolina because the taxes are cheap and it's on the ocean. So why not? Who doesn't want to live on the beach?
right. It sounds like it's heaven over there. I mean,
it's pretty heavenly.
Probably the only thing I wouldn't want to deal with is hurricanes, but that doesn't happen very often. I don't think so.
No, we're in a space where it's not as it doesn't hit here as often as it could other areas. So we feel kind of blessed that we not knowingly picked a place that was like the perfect location.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah. What's our topic today?
Okay, so today I think we're going to talk about goals for the new year, because everybody is probably starting to think of what can we change the next year to be in a better position at the end of the year than when we start, right? And then also, how can you get your spouse on the same page? How can you open up the conversation with your spouse about money, especially if you currently don't talk about money much? There are couples out there that don't really talk about it, and it can be just a point of stress, I think, with some people. Also, we may or may not get to all of these topics, but how your past financial life influences your present situation. What did you learn growing up that maybe affected you as an adult? Myths and misinformation that could be affecting your choices with money. So, just a few things, nothing major. I mean, I think
those are all major discussions.
Yeah. So if we get to two of them, we'll talk about the other ones later, but we'll see. So, I think like the first one I talked about is setting your goals for the new year. So depending on where you're at in your finances, just sit down with your spouse and just open up a discussion. I guess we can talk about these together, because you really need to have financial goals with your spouse. And if you don't talk about money, you need to start like now or yesterday. And I think the thing to remember when you're talking to your spouse about it is to ask them what they want. Like, listen more than you talk, if it helps, and just start asking them questions about where they want to go in the next year, what you guys want to do, and how you can get there. And, make it a discussion, not an argument, and be open-minded and think about what they want, and see if you guys can be on the same page. I mean, ideally, when we get married, we marry someone who's on the same page as us, but that's not always true. And sometimes it changes over time. I mean, I know sometimes people decide 5 years into a marriage that they want to completely change careers, like me. and it kind of comes out of nowhere. And, you have to approach that subject with, an open mind, because, my husband was very, very supportive of me changing careers, because he saw what my other one was doing to me. And sometimes that's the thing. If you're really stressed, maybe you don't see that your spouse can tell what's going on, and they want you to be happy, because if you're not happy, they're probably not happy either, in a lot of cases. So, just
Sure.
sit down and have an open mind. If you need a mediator, that's kind of what we do, is we'll mediate for people a little bit, and I always tell people it's a no judgment zone when they come to talk to me about their money situation, because, it's what you want is always, it's, I don't want to say it's always okay, because some people want weird things, but it's okay to have ideas for things, and maybe you don't know how to get there, but we will help you figure it out, and help you back into, like, what are the steps that it's going to take to get you to where you want to go. So I don't know, maybe your goal is paying off debt. You need to figure out exactly where your debt is and how much you have first, and because sticking your head in the sand and hiding it or ignoring it isn't going to make it go away. Student loans are debt too. Carrie and I were having a conversation yesterday, and the amount of people who have student loan debt and aren't even paying anything on it, it's a lot. And because the government has allowed people to defer their student loan payments and just keep deferring, or, they base it on your income level. And it's not always a good thing. Those student loans are going to be around forever if you don't pay attention to the fact that they're there. And if you have student loans or you're in school right now, your first goal when you get out should be focusing on paying that stuff off, so, I don't know, any goal setting tips for you, Carrie?
Yes, writing them down is a very important step. And I love that you mentioned to do these with your spouse, because Tony and I have very different goals, but they're still in the same alignment of where we're going in life and for our long-term plan. And we execute our goals differently. So it is important for us to have this like budget committee meeting on goals as well, because you do want to be on the same page, heading down the same path together to achieve all of your goals and dreams. Like, he wants to have some cats. So we have to find a way to where he can have some cats without driving me insane, because I'm highly allergic to cats. And so it gets to be a bit of a problem, but I don't ever want to tell my husband no over anything. So you got to find a way to compromise and get all the goals and dreams that everyone wants to achieve. So ours are pretty big. Ours are going to be more long-term goals, but we have to do the baby steps this year to get those things to happen. So we have goals of having 10 offices around the country. We want 3 homes around the country, which we've identified, one being Arizona and one being in South Carolina, but we still need to find the 3rd location because we want to live in 80-degree weather all year. So we're not sure where the 3rd place will be yet. Maybe it'll be St. Croix, but we'll be on board together on what those locations will be, and they will take conversations.
Yeah. And you need to identify, it's great that you have those goals of having 3 homes, but then you need to actually dig into that and say, okay, well, how much is this going to cost us? And how much can we afford to do over time? And what do we need to do to get there? So your goal of having 10 offices, that's when you have the offices open and you have people working for you, that's going to create the income to get you to where you can buy the 3 homes. It's not just because people have that pipe dream thing out there where they're just like, oh, I would really like to have this, but they don't really stop to think about what it's going to take to get there. And I think
exactly
that it can be very discouraging in life if you're constantly dreaming of owning a house on the side of the mountain that costs like $2 million, but yet you never really stop to consider how much money you're going to have to make and how much you're going to have to save and invest in order to get to that point. Because having a $100,000 car is really nice, but what is it going to cost you? Like, how many hours of work is it going to cost you? And how many, I don't even like to look at it as payments, because you should, if you're going to have a $100,000 car, which these days they're getting up there, even the nice new trucks that people drive are 80 grand. And I'm just like,
Oh my
oh,
gosh.
yeah, well, it's because supply and demand.
Whew.
But so anyway, I think that knowing how to set goals is the first step in setting them, understanding that they have to be specific and you have to write them down. And then, once you have the goal in mind, you have to figure out, okay, how much do I need to make per month? And how long, I mean, you have to have an idea of an end date, because if you just say, I want to own a house someday in the mountains, I mean, because I used to deliver mail in Gold Canyon, so I drive through these really nice neighborhoods, and the houses up there are just gorgeous, and it's like one of my things of like, oh, I'd really love to own a house overlooking the country club up there, which is great, but I don't know how much those houses cost. I think they cost, $1 million to $2 million. So, I mean, if you want to build a house, you got to buy the land, and then you got to build it, and you got to know exactly what your focus is. Don't just say, randomly, oh, I'd like to own a yacht. Like,
In the
okay,
desert.
but what?
In the desert. I would like a
Right. Oh,
yacht.
yeah. Well, I mean, people might live on a coast. I mean, you live on a coast, so kind of near it. So, I mean, we all have our things that we want. And, in the desert, people typically own toys and stuff like that. But you just, you got to know, because it's easy to say, I want to do it, and then feel like you have enough money and go impulse buy it whenever you think you're there. But in reality, you got to know exactly how much. You got to put the numbers down on paper and add it up and do it. So, what do you think are some myths about money that affect the way people spend and behave these days?
Really good question. What a great way to put that. Just to give you an example, Tony and I just had a really fast budget committee meeting over whether I buy one pot for $50, or no, excuse me, it was $40 for one pot, or do I buy the whole set for $90? And I personally have those questions for him, because then he looks at it like, let's talk about this. How much do you cook? Okay, I don't cook at all. Like 2 times a year I cook.
Yeah.
So am I going to use those other pots? No, I'm probably not. But that other $50 of the price difference, we could invest. Like little things like that. We don't even think about that when most people would just buy the pots. They're $90. Who cares? But no, when you really break it down, every time you save that small amount, it adds up to a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, so I think another myth is like, well, and I don't know if you'd call it a myth necessarily, but just something that's going on right now with the housing market is, people asking, do I buy now? Do I buy later? What if the market crashes? And it's like, there's no crystal balls here. Like, you have to do what's right for you. And sometimes you have to go with your gut. But, for me personally, I would be asking experts, ask a few realtors. You don't have to be in a contract with a realtor to be able to ask them some questions, or maybe find some realtors who are talking about the situation with the market as it is right now, and see what they're saying. If they have a feeling that, I think from what most people say, they think it's going to slow down a little bit. It's not going to crash, because we're not in the same situation financially as we were in like 2008, when everything did kind of happen. So I think that it's not just listening to random people out there. You got to find the experts that you want to listen to. And
Exactly.
especially when it comes to talking about anything with, your financial life, there's so many people that you could be listening to. And are you listening to the right people? Because, if you're taking advice, or if your financial advisor's broke, they may not be the person who you should be taking advice from. And how do you know if they're broke? Well, it's really just, you've got to listen to the things that they say, and decide if it falls in line with your principles, and the stuff that, I mean, when you see like a lot of experts kind of talking about the same things, and then like you think about who it's benefiting, that's how you can really, like, you just follow the money. Where's the money at? And if you have people who are giving free advice and they have become millionaires by following that advice, well, maybe that's good advice, but you just have to, you have to, because I've talked to financial advisors, or people who call themselves financial advisors, and they've retired from that business and they were nowhere near ready to retire. And so that's probably not somebody I would take advice from, but it's just all about what they're talking about. So you have to decide, you have to really be critical of who you're listening to, and kind of just pay attention, and I'm just a big person that, like, I'm big with observation, and just, you see people's actions and see if they follow what they're saying, and I think, to me, when I'm asking questions and observing, I observe a lot of times, like, do they sound like they're hiding something, or like, are they open with what they're talking about, or does it sound like it's a big or I don't know. I always get skeptical when I feel like people are, like, being secretive about stuff. Doesn't that, like, cause you to have a red flag?
Of
Carrie?
course, that is a very good point. Absolutely.
It's just like, I mean, because a lot of people who've made a lot of money and have a lot of money in the bank and have become millionaires, they don't have a big problem telling you how they did it.
No. Having a
So
conversation with those people is fun and fascinating, and I
it
love to
is.
learn from those people because they do give solid, good advice. And
Yeah.
not all of the advice is good for me because my situation
Right.
is much different. I don't have children. I don't have anything tying me down to any particular place. So my situation is very unique compared to most people's. And
Exactly.
so let's go back to that housing market question, conversation that we were just having. You brought up some very valid points about that. But the thing that intrigues me the most about the housing market is because some people who are moving to Arizona from California, who've owned 7, 8, $900,000 houses or $1 million houses, they're coming to Arizona and spending $300,000-$400,000 on a house is nothing
Yeah.
compared to what they were paying in California. But
Exactly.
somebody with the mindset of me who has never paid more than $95,000 or $120,000 for a house, the $300,000 house sounds like that's ridiculous and overpriced to me.
Yeah.
So it depends on your particular situation
Right.
on whether you should buy a house or not. Because once that housing market crashes, which it always does, not
Yeah.
every couple of years, but like every 10 years it does. And I've lived through 2 of them in Arizona, and it's been fabulous both times because I bought a house at both times. And I profited amazingly off of those 2 houses. So you have to know what your comfort level is, because like those people that are buying 300, 400, $500,000 houses in Arizona right now, they don't care if the market crashes because they paid cash for their house and it
Right.
doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, and if you're going to
So
live in a house for 5 to 10 years, then it doesn't matter as much, because
exactly.
I was looking up the statistics, and it looks like, there's over 300 people, 300 families a day moving to the Phoenix area.
Sure.
And so we're in a hot market anyway, as it is. And so that drives prices. But there are so many other factors that go into the housing market. It's, for one, some people are wanting to buy because they are getting priced out of the rental market, because they're thinking, well, it costs so much to rent, I could just buy a house for less than this. But not necessarily. And sometimes you can't even get approved to buy a house if your credit's not right, or you don't have enough money to put down. And I think that there's so many important things to remember about just whether or not you're going to stay in one place for a long time, or and so, like I said, if you're going to be in the same house for 5 to 10 years, it's probably not as big of a deal.
No.
But like you said, it's all about ratios too, and that goes with everything that people spend their money on. I mean, you might look at somebody and go, oh my gosh, you just bought $100,000 car. Well, how much money do they have in the bank, and how much of a percentage of their wealth is that? If it's 100% of what they own, it's probably not a good idea. But if it's somebody who has, $2 or $3 million in the bank, that $100,000 car is like nothing to them. And so,
Exactly.
when you, it was funny that one of our friends had a tire blowout today on his expensive car, and it sounds like it's a really expensive tire to replace. Those things are things you have to think about when you buy expensive cars. And so if somebody goes and gets a big loan with a big high car payment, and that's it's become an issue lately with these $80,000 trucks. Think about how much tires cost to replace. And so before you go buy that truck, you have to decide, not only can you afford the payment, but can you afford the accessories that are going to go with it? Because the last thing you need to do is go put that on a credit card when maybe you don't even have extra room on your credit card to do it if a tire blows. You've got to have the money to cover all the little things that go wrong with those things, because you could blow a tire easy. I mean, that stuff happens all the time. We hit one on the freeway one day
Yes.
because some big truck blew a tire. And yeah, so you've got to make sure that what you're looking at as far as expenses, and start planning for that stuff ahead. So I don't know, I guess the whole past financial life influencing your present behavior too. um it Sometimes people are raised with either an abundance mindset or um, a scarcity mindset. And I would say I was probably more on the edge of the scarcity mindset. Like, some people are raised to just feel like everything that they have is great, and they have gratitude for every single thing. But when I was a kid, I heard um, money's tight right now. I heard that a lot. And so it's not a reflection of my parents at all. It's like with my kids, I'll tell them it's not that I don't have the money to buy something, it's that it's not in my budget right now, and I don't, this money over here is set for something else. So when I say no to going to fast food at Starbucks, it's not because we're broke. It's because we're not spending money on that right now. And so, like, I try to make it with them and teaching them about money and stuff. I try to make sure that they understand that it's like they don't need to be stressed. Like, we're not losing our house. We're not, there's nothing to be worried about. Like, it's not that we don't have any money. It's just that we aren't spending it on that. We don't choose to spend it on that. And having that being a choice, I think, is a better way of thinking about things. And so, like, I grew up, I've never been a big spender on myself. I sometimes, I mean, it's the silliest things, like buying a $60 planner. I'll put that off for like weeks or months. I'll think about it for a long time before I pull the trigger on it, because I just feel like I shouldn't buy it. Or going to buy clothes sometimes to me feels like extravagant. And so I have to work on my mindset with money, and the fact that, like, why is it so easy to go spend 50 or $60 on a couple of pizzas for one meal, but $50 or $60 on some clothes or a planner that is going to last you for a year? It's just like, why do we have those hangups? And so it's kind of more of like, there's no answer to that. It's just, you have to think about it yourself and figure out why you feel that way. And then you got to figure out how you can overcome it. So the way I started overcoming it is by working the budget. And so when you build in money that you get to spend out of your budget, that's just for anything that you want, it helps you be able to buy things for yourself, or if you want to buy things for your kids or whatever. But, like, if you have stuff specifically in your budget for certain reasons, it can help you overcome some of those hangups that you might have with money. And if you spend
Absolutely.
too much, if you spend too much, then the budget just gives you, it just helps keep you in line a little bit. If you know that you tend to overspend, but you don't really feel like you can control it, um, the budget's not really for control. It's just to have you open your eyes to make sure that you understand, you know, start looking at what's important and what's not, because, sometimes people buy things in order to make themselves feel better, right? Like, some people have shopping addictions, and and things. And it's not the thing that's going to make you feel better. It's what you should do with the thing after you have it that should, that should be the reason to buy something. So I don't know. It just makes you more conscious of your choices, I think.
Absolutely. I was just looking for a couple of pictures that I took from our friend Ashley Barnett. She runs a goal setting group that I had attended many, many years. And I blame her for me being a broker here because of her goal setting monthly meetings that we did. It made me be intentional about our goal setting. And she had created these signs that she would bring to each meeting. And I took pictures of them because one month she was not there, and so we didn't have her signs and we couldn't remember what the intentions were. So I have to share these with you because they're super fun. She had hero habits about setting goals. You have to be consistent, have focus, fight fear, read daily, and stay active. And that there was a different sign about what weenie words were, because we can actually use words that sabotage our goal setting. And so we had weenie words that we were not allowed to say in the group when we were setting our goals or sharing our goals or talking about anything in particular. So these weenie words had to be taken out of our vocabulary. And I almost feel bad saying them because, like, I have been so intentional about not using these words, but I'm going to share them with you because they are very powerful words
Yes.
that can sabotage you from hitting your goals. So the word try, can't, but, oh my gosh, but is tragic. Possibly, maybe, and might. Those are all words that you must take out of your vocabulary if you want to have success with your goal setting for 2022.
I think that's great. I think you should post those pictures under this video.
I wonder if we have to have special permission for Ashley to do that, or if she'll just think that's fantastic.
Well, I mean, it's really nice to know that, I mean, because words really are powerful. I mean,
They truly
it's,
are.
when you say, I'll try to show up to a party, that you're invited to, are you really going to try? Or is that just your way of saying, you know what, I'll try to make it, but, secretly you're thinking, no way I'm going to that.
That's
So
your
it's not,
first indication you're not coming, is when you say, I'll try.
yeah, exactly. And so, you don't try to set an appointment with your dentist or your doctor or whatever. You actually call them, and you keep trying back. Like, you keep trying to get a hold of them until you get that appointment set. You just don't go, well, I need to try to set an appointment. You just do it. You set the appointment for something. And when you set the appointment, that's your first step to committing to do whatever it is that you are, your goal is. Like, a lot of people set goals at the beginning of the year. you know I mean, I'd say the most popular one is that I'm going to lose 20 pounds this year. you
Oh
know
gosh.
and they usually have like such an unrealistic goal. They want to lose 20 pounds in a month or in 2 weeks or whatever, and they find out it's hard. They're not realistic with their goals. And if you do any kind of research on it, it's 2 pounds a week is what they say is healthy. So you have to,
Oh,
like, add that up and see how many weeks that'll take you. So if 2 pounds a week is healthy, then 10 weeks to lose 20 pounds. That should be your goal, is I'm going to lose 20 pounds in 10 weeks. And then you have to figure out the process of how you're going to do it. And so I think,
the part that I struggled with the most about the whole losing weight thing is I thought it was my lack of working out, where in reality it is 100% diet. The
yeah,
food that you're putting in your mouth is what controls your weight, and working out is just a bonus.
right. Well, I don't know. I've done a lot of research on that, and we won't get into it because I'm not a personal trainer.
We're not experts in it.
So I know they say 80% of your, like, abs are bathed in the kitchen, and 80% of it is your diet.
There you go.
Because I don't think it's 100%. I mean, I've seen people who've lost lots and lots of weight, and yet I don't know how to say it. They don't look fit because,
Oh, so they need to work out to get the,
well, you need to get a little, yeah, working out, builds muscle and helps tone, and you definitely got to get some muscle tone because, for me, it's my working out has more to do with my physical abilities to walk around and to feel comfortable in my clothes and do that. And I've lost weight and I've done it a couple of different ways and a couple different times. And I could tell a huge difference between when I was working out heavily and when I was mostly just focused on food.
it
I mean,
probably
it's
is based on
amazing.
your body type too, because I've
Yes.
always been a very active person. So
Yeah.
under my fluff, I've always been muscle.
Yeah.
So you
Well,
just
and
can't
that's
tell the muscle is there under your fluff.
right. And that's me too. And so like I literally can't I have a very hard time losing weight with just diet personally.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
Wow. Isn't that
I
fascinating?
can count calories all day long. I don't lose anything unless I'm burning about 6 to 800 calories a day, like with exercise.
Wow. We may have to have a person that is an expert in this field come and have a discussion with us just for funsies, because I feel like that's people's goals in life every year is there's always a getting in better shape or being able to move better as we age. Oh my gosh, that's so important that
It
we
is.
stay flexible.
It is. So maybe we should have someone, an expert come because I've definitely studied a lot about it over the years and tried a lot of different things. And I think that it's very dependent on your specific body type and how you're built. So, and
Ah,
but
fascinating.
yeah, so I would say the biggest people, the biggest thing that people tend to set goals on for the year is probably fitness and health. And then I think a lot of it is financial. And whether
There
it's,
you go.
wanting to save or pay off bills or, sometimes it's just making a career change.
Whew.
And
What's the statistic lately about how many people are changing careers every month right now? It's like staggering
it is
high.
staggering. I want to say last year they said like 40% of people changed
Wow.
careers. And maybe I'm wrong, but I definitely was just floored when I saw one of the reports about how many people changed jobs or the people who were intending to change jobs. And, people are getting sick of working for horrible bosses and toxic
Right.
environments.
We're
And,
over it.
so, that's, it's, it's something that people just, when you realize there's a better way, you're not willing to put up with that stuff anymore. And,
That's true. Absolutely.
it's
You know
just,
what's funny is that you bring that up is I never expected to work in the financial industry ever. And I can't even imagine what the amount of people that work within our company had never even gave a financial career even a thought, but are now doing a financial career.
I love it when we have our meetings and stuff, and you'll hear, this person was a lawyer before. This person was, owned a yogurt shop, or I love the we have a guy who was in a band. He worked at Target part time, and he went on the road with his band until he hurt his hand and couldn't play guitar anymore or whatever. And so, like, yeah, it's the amount of people who come into this business because it's, they really see exactly what it's really not hard. I mean,
Mm-mm.
it's some basic concepts and we just teach people. And
Yeah,
so it's so rewarding and fulfilling that, like, you get into it because you just want to help people. And we were talking this morning in our training, and our goal as a company is to make as many financially independent families out there as possible. So when you have a company who that's their goal, like, it's amazing, And I mean,
absolutely.
our clients can tell when they sit down and talk with us that that's our goal because we're talking about you specifically. And we're not talking about us. It's not a transactional thing where once we get you what you need, you never hear from us again. We want to make sure that you're staying on track. And I think that's just the biggest plus of this. Like, I get to send out Christmas cards to
Exactly.
my family. They're my clients, but they kind of become my family because I want to make sure that they're doing well. And and I think that one of the things that people don't understand, because some people hate talking about money and they see it kind of as like a taboo subject, but what we have talked about several times in my family, and I mean, it comes up a lot in conversation with me and us, is the fact that true financial freedom is not just about money. It's about freedom in your life and having the
Right.
freedom to make choices, and having the freedom to decide to do a career change because you're debt free and you have a bunch of money saved up, and that if you change jobs and you don't like it, then there's other options out there. And so I think that's just because most people get stressed when they think about changing careers, like, oh, what am I gonna how am I because really there's this, you're starting from scratch. If you go to a different company that's a
Absolutely.
completely different type of job than you've ever done, you're starting from scratch. But when you can start something and do it part-time and learn it till you get to that point where you're basically financially independent and you can make a transition, like, that's the best way to do it. So that's why I love training people and showing them like what's possible out there, because if you've never seen a company that treats their people so well and pays them well, and like they tell you what to do to get promoted, and so all you literally have to do is just do what they tell you to do and you'll get your promotion. Like, there's
Like a
no somebody
dream
has to
job.
die, yeah, there's no like carrot that they keep dangling in front of you. Oh nope, now it's this. You just do what you're told, and magically this stuff appears in front of you, and it's pretty nice to be able to like the people that you work with too. Nobody's stabbing each other in the back,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's really cool. So if you're thinking about a career change, definitely reach out and let me explain how my company works, because it's amazing. But
It
that's
is amazing.
more for another day. So I think we're good on this one. Next week, actually, was going to bring up the side hustle topic, because so many people are getting into side hustles, and we need to talk about, like, if you're doing it, what are you doing it for? What's your goal?
Yeah.
Is it just to make an extra few $100 in the month to cover your bills, or is it a stepping stone to something else?
That's a
Because
perfect topic because it goes right hand in hand with goal setting. Because if
yeah,
somebody's goal is to have a plan B or a career change on their goal sheet, they should probably know how to do that. So
yeah,
I'm excited for that topic.
yes. So next week we're talking side hustles and what you can do.
Yay!
Um,
So fun. I will post the goal setting habits of successful people into the money making sense page.
okay, that sounds
I've
good.
officially
So
received permission from Ashley.
awesome. She's so cool. I love Ashley. Ashley's the one who taught me the principles that we live by, basically. So,
Love it.
um, let's see, what else was I going to say? Yeah, so everybody have a Merry Christmas, and we will be back
Yes.
Monday.
In like 5 days, it's going to be
Yeah.
Christmas. Like
Oh, and
that,
then
it's going to be Christmas.
I should say real quick, happy birthday to Miss Carrie Camino.
Oh
Or,
goodness, I was hoping you'd forget.
well,
Thank you.
we don't have to talk about the number. We could just say that, she's our Christmas baby, and we all celebrate her every year on Christmas Eve. So, I
Yeah,
think,
I just tell people I'm 40 because I've forgotten how
yeah,
old I really am.
yeah. And, that's okay, because we're only as old as we feel. And
Oh, well, if that's the case, I must be
you're like
85.
20. I was going to say, aren't you like 25? Because
God bless you.
I just think after like 18, we're all just the same age, right?
Well,
I
I
mean,
figure after 25, because that's like our first goal is to hit 25 so we can get better insurance rates. And
right,
then after that, it's just all downhill from there until
right,
you can get
exactly.
your AARP discounts and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I would trade the wisdom that I've earned over the years through all of my experience. So,
Oh my gosh, Dana, you're so right. The whole like we have to be young and stupid before we can be old and wise is truly a thing.
it really is.
Sheesh, those
So,
years were rough.
yep. So, anyway, Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy birthday to
Merry
Carrie. And
Christmas. Thank
we'll see you
you.
guys next Monday when we talk about side hustles. So, have a great
Sounds
week.
good.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. All right, I just